Okay, darling. So just thinking, set ourselves in the right direction for this 1 hour. We're going to listen, think, analyze, contemplate, and maybe decide to apply, even if it's 1% of what we hear. This is marvelous, because the bottom line is it's advice. It's my voice chatting away, but it's all advice, If we want to take it, we take it. If you don't want to, then you're the boss, not Buddha. So you don't take it. But hear it as advice. That's the whole point. It's not just sort of making us excited. It's to hear as advice. It's like recipes. Okay. So, and why do we want to, why do we want to take this advice? Because we want to become happy and be less neurotic, and we want to be useful to others, isn't it? That's the bottom line. So yeah, what else? Just the little 2-minute video I do every couple of days, something to think about. We put on the social media, and one we just talked about recently is happiness. I mean, this just seems so corny, and it's a word that comes up all the time in Buddhism. In fact, Buddha's his very first teaching, after he kind of finally got enlightened, and he wandered off and walked a few days, and he ended up in Deer Park, this place near Varanasi, India. And he met his old students there, and he gave his first teaching, and it's called the Four Noble Truths. Well, it's actually really the 4 facts for the noble ones. The noble ones are those who've experienced the truth of this, and it's about suffering. Well, flip that over. What's suffering about? Suffering is, freedom from happiness, and what we want is happiness. So we want freedom from suffering. So it's a really basic way of putting it. It's very simple in a way. It almost seems like too silly and too simple. Why are you practicing a spiritual path? Oh, I want to be happy. And also it maybe sounds a bit selfish. We get a bit sort of extra noble when we think about spiritual. But the Buddhist approach, as we all the time talk, this 2 wings of the bird idea. The wisdom wing is how to get your happiness. And you cannot ignore that. Not in a greedy way, but in a practical way. Because if you don't know how, it's like, how do you get healthy? How can you help others be healthy if you don't know, for goodness sake, how to get healthy? It's like that. So if you haven't got the recipe for how to get happy, how can you help others be happy? The point is to help others. Of course it is. The point is to help others. But you can only do that when you found the method yourself. It's sort of fairly obvious. So what is the method? Well, there's like short-term and long-term. Short-term, and you can be a communist and take this advice. This has not anything to do with taking on board the concept of reincarnation, all this blah, 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 none of that. If you know yourself, you want, when you look into your mind, you want to have feelings that are pleasant. You don't want feelings that are unpleasant. And that's a way of putting what Buddhism means by happy and suffering. It's internal. But part of our problem is because we're so addicted from the Buddhist perspective to using the wrong methods for getting happy. And don't take that as a moralistic thing. Take it as practical. You got the wrong recipe. You won't get the cake if you follow that recipe. He's not being moralistic. He's being practical. And the recipe, of course, that we use, and he says we're addicted to this from practicing it Lord knows how long, is the belief that when I get the cake, I'll get happy. When I get the boyfriend, I'll get happy. When I get the praise, I'll get happy. When I get the lottery, I'll get happy. When I get the right shaped body, I'll get happy. That's how we think, isn't it? Nobody even teaches us this. This is primordially deep in every one of us, and the monkeys and the dogs as well. Okay, it happens to be Buddha's explanation of why we get born like this is because we've done it before, which of course implies this idea of reincarnation, as opposed to why you're like this is because your mummy did it, which is the materialist view, not like that for the Buddha. But nevertheless, we can see, since we're tiny, we're driven to have pleasant feelings, and we're driven to try and be free from unpleasant feelings. But because we're so addicted to believing the outside, and this is the key simple point Buddha's making, because we're addicted to believing instinctively within us, since tiny children even, where we believe that the outside thing is the way to get the happiness. So therefore, to avoid the outside thing that's ugly is the way to stop the suffering. That's why when you're little and someone hurts you, you punch them back, because you think they're the cause of your suffering. That's how it appears to us. This is what we believe. And this is where it's hard, because Buddha's point is, sorry, guys, you've got the wrong end of the stick. It's a misconception, and this is not easy to see. So nevertheless, we're talking about it. So what is his method? Well, the short term, quite simple. And even then, it's not really short term. It still takes time. From the Buddhist perspective, what he has found from his own experience, that if you take one person who is suffering, and this is not putting anybody down because we all suffer from one point in one way or another, but we're talking here particularly internally. You're miserable, you're angry, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're fearful, you're jealous, you're raging, you're arrogant, you low self-esteem. We all know these words intimately. If a person is predominantly feeling one of those, it's almost so obvious, isn't it? It's a no-brainer that it's clear they're miserable, which means they're suffering, isn't it? It's so clear. It's sort of, but we don't join the dots, you know. And then if you see a person who's smiling, and then, now this is the point now, okay, this is the extra point. You can see that person who's depressed, angry, jealous, whatever, but you can look at their external world and you tick the boxes. Well, they've got good food, they've got a kind mother, they've got a lovely boyfriend, they've got a beautiful looking body, they've got a really good job, they've got money in the bank. So you tick all the boxes and you go, well, if they're the cause of happiness, why aren't they happy? And we should ask that question, and we do ask that question, but that's where we get puzzled. Then you look at another person who's poor, whose husband left them, or whose husband died, you know, they've got 4 children, they're struggling. But you see them, they're smiling, they're kind, they're generous, they're loving, they're patient. And guess what? That person is happy. So this is where we get confused. We see it all the time and we say it, we know it, but we can't join the dots. We don't get the learning from this. Wow, if that person's poor, look at that person in prison. She's been accused of murdering 2 policemen and she's totally innocent, but look at her, she's happy. Something's wrong here. And then we see a person who's got all the things, you tick all the boxes, but they're unhappy, then we'll go, well, something's wrong here too. So we know it doesn't make sense. So we've got to look at, therefore, what is the learning from this? This is using logic, I tell you. But the person who's miserable, let's say a person has got a house to live in, there's money in the bank, they've got, you know, they've got people who, even one person who loves them, who supports them. And from a regular point of view, you look at them and they're looking lovely. They've got a lovely body, then they've got lovely qualities, but there they are hating themselves, loathing themselves. They look in the mirror, they see somebody disgusting. They want to kill themselves because they're so ugly. We know it is like this. But when we're in the midst of that pain and suffering, and you look in the mirror and you see an ugly person, but someone else looks at you and says, no, Rabina, you're not that bad actually, and you don't believe them. This is what's so shocking. This is showing the depth of the habit of being caught up in these wrong conceptions, these attachment, anger, dissatisfaction, jealousy, low self-esteem, self-loathing, you name it. And all Buddha's saying is, honey child, sweet, precious one, this is why you're suffering, not the external. Even if your body was conventionally called ugly, if you want to, you know, use the criteria of the world, still, it is not the main cause of your suffering. It is your mind, precious one. It is your mind, babies. It is your mind. Exactly the same as a person who's living in a hellhole, like my friend Sunny in prison, who found the method to change her mind. Therefore, conclusion, she was having happy feelings. Happiness is the name for a state of mind. Happiness is not the external environment, and we can prove it immediately. You find a person who ticks the boxes and we can show they've got reasonable conditions, reasonable body, reasonable wealth, reasonable friends, everything's ticking the boxes, but there they are living in hell mentally. It's so clear to us. It is the mind that is the main source of our happiness and suffering. You're always going to find, especially like now, I'm always impressed. You read all the, you know, the pandemic. I mean, now at the moment, Afghanistan and Haiti are taking the news, but usually it's the pandemic. You know, you've got people who are living in nightmarish environments, poor, struggling, but they're happy people because they're helping others. This is so corny, but it's profound. And we can all see when a person is really suffering, meaning mentally, they're totally absorbed in themselves. This is not being cruel. This is not being critical. We take it as criticism. We kind of feel resentful. Or you're blaming me, are you? All Buddha's trying to show us is what happiness is and what suffering is. And this is not religion. We can prove it. It's scientific. We don't join the dots. So therefore, so let's say we are addicted to self-loathing. Let's say we are addicted to anger, jealousy, whatever it is. We're addicted to them. That's why they come so easily. They're called addictions, basically. That's why they come rushing into our mind with uninvited. And exactly why a person, their love and kindness and patience comes rushing into their mind. Each of us in our own case is because we've practiced those. So therefore, how do you change the unhappy states of mind? Well, they're not going to go away overnight. So don't hold your breath. It takes practice. So in this way, then the methodology, Buddha basically is a cognitive therapist. And I'm not joking. He's a cognitive therapist. He's saying when we start to become familiar with our mind and we first notice the feelings, which is the intense physical energy, and that's what we notice first, but it's like too late because what's underneath those feelings is the states of mind. And that's where the cognitive therapy comes in. So when we can understand, for example, that anger and how it expresses itself for some people, you hate yourself. You think you are ugly. You think everything is wrong, especially yourself. You're not intelligent. You're no good. You're this, you're that. Your mind is uncontrolled. You can't do this. I mean, this is a very common way of thinking when we're really miserable. So how do we change those thoughts? Well, it's not easy, but it is easy, but it'll take time. Just like changing your body. If you do decide to go to the gym because you want to have a different shaped body, and that's your call, then you go to the gym the first day and you come home, you look in the mirror, you're going to look the same. So don't get depressed and think it didn't work. It's bizarre. We know it takes time. Same with our mind. And that's part of the problem because the suffering of being caught up in self-loathing or jealousy or depression, and we can't control the crazy thoughts, it is so painful and we can't stand the pain. But this is where we can't make it go away. You can't just take a pill to make it all go away. So we have to have the courage to learn to live with these thoughts and start to not believe their story. That's the cognitive therapy thing. So then that's when we get down to the bare bones. What is the Buddha calls all these emotions misconceptions. They're disturbing emotions and they're rooted in being misconceptions, which is the part that's surprising to us. So self-loathing, let's say I am ugly, it's a concept, right? It's a thought. I am ugly. You say the words, I am ugly. And I learn English and I know the meaning. And I go, I am ugly. That means it's a thought you got in your mind. And how you get that thought is you look in the mirror and your angry mind sees ugly because anger sees ugly. Patience sees not ugly. Attachment is a hunger in the mind that wants that ugly to be different. That's the hunger, that's the attachment part. Constantly dissatisfied. So then you say, I am ugly. So then how do you assess that? It's hard to assess the reality of that, isn't it? We can have, you can enter into Miss America and you might be voted the most beautiful, or you might be, say, Audrey Hepburn, or Marilyn Monroe, two examples. Audrey Hepburn, everybody adored her. Said she was beautiful, kind, loving. She worked for UN for years to help children, help people. She was beautiful. And there she was in a biography. She was ugly. Her nose was too big. Her hair was the wrong color. Her breast was the wrong shape. Everybody feels this. It's a question of degree. They talk about anorexics having this, whatever the body, something or other. Everybody's like that. It's just a question of degree. A friend of mine recently said that her nose was so disgusting she wanted to kill herself. So it's all a question of degree. We all have this. It's called dissatisfaction, and it's from practicing attachment, because attachment is this bottomless pit of emotional hunger that always wants something more. So the practice then is first to recognize these misconceptions. And why we have to say, well, why is it a misconception? Because I am ugly. We'll say that, we'll argue, but I am ugly. Look at me. And then the person looking on will go, well, actually, Rabina, you're not too bad. Your nose isn't too bad. It fits fairly much with your face. Your ears are pretty much the right shape. We've got a bit of fat around the tummy maybe, but that's okay. So we've got to practice cognitive therapy, and we have to learn to put new concepts into the mind to counteract the concept, I am ugly. And why would you want to do that? Because guess what? When you say I am ugly, you feel terrible. But when you learn to change that concept, your mind will start to relax. And you'll have the humility that goes, okay, this is who I am, and this is fine. Then guess what? You're going to have happy feelings. That's it. But it takes time. It's sort of like for eons, you've been believing that 1 + 1 is 3. It takes a while to hear the truth. But you have to first recognize that 1 + 1 is 3 is a mistake. You have to first recognize I am ugly, which is anger talking. The key function in Buddhist psychology of all the neurotic emotions, apart from their being disturbing, apart from their causing you to be miserable, the more subtle, the more fundamental function of them, their being misconceptions, is that they are lies. 1 + 3, 1 + 1 is 3 isn't a truth. It's a lie, a conventional lie. I am ugly is even if you don't win Miss America or Miss England, it's still an exaggeration. Anger exaggerates. And we can prove this, because if you say, see, the difference here is anger is against yourself. But if you say he is ugly, that means there's anger in your mind, and anger is the response when your attachment doesn't get what it wants. And why you think he's ugly is because he was mean to you. He might have been kind to 47,000 other people. We don't care. If he's mean to me, then he is ugly. But a month ago, you were in love with him and he looked and you said he is beautiful. So you've got to work out which is true. Well, neither is true, because each of them, and this is Buddha's point, the delusions, their particular function is they exaggerate. They are distortions. This is the key thing. When we can see this, it's a revelation. Anger exaggerates the ugliness. Attachment exaggerates the deliciousness of something, and has the energy of expectation and emotional hunger. So they're always going to cause disappointment because they're not true. They're not true. So we have to learn to program our mind. This is being the cognitive therapist. We have to start to program our mind with what is true. This is Buddha's key point, all the way from here to enlightenment. What we're doing is lessening and eventually getting rid of the lies, which are the cause of suffering, and getting our minds into sync with that which is true at ever more subtle levels, ever more subtle levels, ever more subtle levels. This is Buddha's methodology. This is Buddha's practice. And it takes time. So we have to be humble and patient, like going to the gym. Then, of course, this is the wisdom wing. Now you can open your eyes and go, oh my God, everybody's in the same boat. Now I understand why they're suffering. Look at that child. But our habit in the West is we see that kid, let's say we're helping some people, and we see one of them is really angry, really mean and nasty. And the first thing we do is, well, I wonder what his mummy did to him. That's not the issue here. That's not Buddha's concern. He doesn't worry about what your mother did to you. He says, what you've got to do is try and see their mind. If you're trying to help people, you've got to see their mind. And how do you see their mind? By knowing your mind. So you know about anger in your own mind. So you see this kid, and you also see another kid next to him is quite patient, and they're both poor. They've both got lousy family. They're both in a difficult situation. One is angry, one is patient. So it's the mind that makes the difference. Don't worry about what their mother did to them. That's always the first thing we always say. Oh, well, she suffered so badly when she was a child. That's why she is that way. That's not Buddha's concern. It's helpful to look at all that. We'll look at their mind. And how do you look at a person's mind? By knowing your mind. Then you can be kind and wise and helpful and loving. And you'll not only have love, compassion is not enough, as His Holiness says. Meaning well is not enough, as Lama Zopa says. You've got to have wisdom. And wisdom isn't some fancy capital W something. Wisdom is common sense. Wisdom is knowing yourself and how the delusions function and how the virtues function, and therefore how to help others. That's the thing, But you've got to help yourself first. You can't help others if you can't put yourself together. That's clear. You can't rush around helping people who are all eating the wrong food when you don't even know nutrition for yourself. It's obvious. So here we're talking mental nutrition. And if you're so fortunate to be born in this life with an automatic tendency to be kind and loving and patient, well, delight that you've practiced it in the past. Don't just think, oh, aren't I lucky? No, you're not lucky. You've worked hard at it. So you use that love and kindness and patience and generosity and forgiveness to be of benefit to others. How amazing. How marvelous it is, And remember, the bottom line here is delusions in the mind are the source of our suffering, and the virtues in our mind are the cause of our happiness. That's it. The simplest statement you could find, but the hardest to see and then to practice, you know. So come on then, ask me some questions. Any old questions? What's going on in your lives? Discuss with me. Any old
Anybody? Yeah, if anyone has a question, please, you can raise your hand in the reactions box at the bottom there.
Okay. Please talk to me. Any old thing, I don't mind. Questions, anything that's happening? Yes, Barbara.
Oh, Carolyn.
Yes, Barbara.
Hi, Venerable Rubina. Thank you so much for your teachings.
Good, good, good.
I really like your saying grist for the mill. That is something that I can connect with. And I feel that over the last while, I've had a lot of grist coming in. And what I'm trying to do is find the balance between knowing where I'm at and being courageous.
That's right, exactly. Exactly.
Can I shut down the mill for a while?
I mean, if you have to, I mean, you can't go to the gym 24 hours a day, sweetheart. If you're a really great practitioner like Lama Zopa or somebody, he is at it 24 hours a day. He never sleeps a wink. He's only practicing 24 hours a day at a grosser level when he's awake, helping people, and at a subtle level in his own mind, doing all sorts of Lord knows what. So we've got to know where we're at, baby. Of course you have to know where you're at. Of course you have to know, but even when you're relaxing, you're still practicing. Come on. You don't suddenly, it's sort of like, you know, you don't suddenly go back into being greedy and grasping in the break. You try to also practice during the break, but you relax. You know, you understand? It's all part of the process, isn't it?
It is. And I get that. And then part of me thinks, but where's my courage?
What do you mean by that? So stop for a second. What do you mean? When does that thought arise?
When I am thinking of not wanting to have any more grist come in for a bit.
Okay, so sometimes, but Barbara, sometimes you can't help it. You've got to stop resisting it is even more suffering. If you can't stop it, like if you're my friend in prison, accused of death, accused of murder, and you can't escape, you don't have an option. You can still go to sleep and have a weep, but you can't. So what I'm saying is, even when you relax, it's a question of degree of practice, but you don't stop practicing in a sense. You can't, that's not possible. Otherwise you're just going backwards. Sort of like if you're trying to eat good nutrition, you don't say, I'm going to have a break and then stuff yourself with sugar. It won't help. You've got to, you know, just relax a little bit. So as all the meditators say, when you meditate, you really practice, and the ones in the retreat. Then when you relax, you really relax. So you make relaxing part of your practice, sweetheart. That's also needs courage. Don't think you're not. I mean, to think you're not practicing, to think having a break means not practicing is like eating proper food and then taking a break and stuffing yourself on sugar. That's foolish. Do you see my point now?
I do. I definitely see
don't beat yourself up. Give yourself a break, for God's sake. But just
thank you.
Every minute of it is relaxed, and that's even including your sleeping. You can't be like Lama Zopa yet, who's able to practice day and night awake. We have to say, okay, I'm going to sleep because I need sleep. This is where I'm at. So make my sleep useful. So I wake up in the morning and I can be useful. So you make your relaxing part of your practice. Otherwise, it's a bit schizophrenic.
Thank you.
You understand? Good, darling.
Yeah.
Good. What else? Yes, dearest Rosanna.
Oh, Venerable Ravine, I'm so happy to see you.
Yes.
I, as you know, I have a student, a 10-year-old student with cancer.
Yes.
And I've been spending a lot of time in the hospital with this child. Recently, Venerable, they said she could go home, and now she's very sick again. And so she cannot go home. She's been in the hospital since February, and she's very down. She's very, that radiance is not as strong anymore with her because she was so hoping.
Yes,
I've been visiting, reading to her, holding her hand. I'm there with her every day. But
yes.
I just want, is there any,
I understand.
is there anything I'm missing that I can say?
I understand, darling. So first of all, let me ask the question, is this cancer kind of aggressive and is it killing her basically? Or is it kind of, so she's dying. She's a dying person in the sense that she's got a few months to live or something. Is that right?
Well, we weren't sure. The chemo is working, and
Yeah.
she does have bone cancer, but the chemo is working, and it was looking much better. But
Yes.
now the doctors are saying there's some issues that they have to watch her closely.
Okay.
So
So what is her view of it? She's 10 years old. Does she call herself a dying person, or is she a person who's
no,
well, how does she see herself?
no, she sees herself as going to school in September. She sees herself as living with her family.
Okay.
She sees herself, we're creating her prosthesis because she's had amputations. She sees that, but
Okay.
recently, the last
Yes.
few days, she's
Yes.
not talking like that. It's
Right.
harder for her to see it
Yes.
now.
Yes, I understand. So that's basically
And
because she,
so she's talking about dying now.
so how does she
She's
talk about
talking
it?
about cancer.
Okay. So listen, there's several things then. There's several things, Rosanna. So what I'm hearing you say, that up until now, your presence has been, and I know it from hearing it, talking to you, your presence has been beneficial to her. You've encouraged her. She's alive. She's energetic. You love her. She's using that love to help herself be optimistic. So now what I'm hearing you now say is that the same things that you've been doing don't bring the same result in her. Is that correct?
Yes.
So now this is the mistake.
Yes,
My
that's
sense
correct.
is this is the mistake you are making, and this is something very powerful. You know, obviously, when you're kind, when you're kind to somebody and they smile back at you and say thank you, we then feel that our action was beneficial, don't we? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, what happens is
Yes.
this. What you're doing is the same good actions, but because she doesn't respond in the same way, you are thinking, I mustn't be doing the right thing. That's the mistake. You are doing the right thing, but stop expecting her to be different, Rosanna. Don't use her response as a judgment of your beneficial action. This is our biggest mistake, because even though you've got all this kindness and love, you still, you've still got this attachment in you that wants to get the right response. And that makes us feel, wow, I'm doing a good job. But you are still doing a good job, even if she's miserable. That's the thing. There's nothing more. So your question, is there something more I should do? Thinking, well, maybe if I do this, then she'll smile. Stop expecting her to smile, Rosanna. Let her be utterly miserable. And you have the courage to stand there like a rock of Gibraltar and allow her to be miserable. Allow her to despair. Allow her to go through the process she has to go through.
Right.
Are you hearing my point?
Yes. Yes. I hear you in my heart.
You what?
I hear you in my heart.
Good. So have courage just to keep being there with zero expectation and allow her. She has to confront whatever she has to confront. If she is going to die, she has got to know that. Don't you try and make her, oh, it's all right, darling, you're not dying. Don't placate her. Just love her. Be like a rock of Gibraltar and be this perfect loving mother for her. And that gives her permission to be despairing if she has to be. Let her be it.
Yeah.
It's part of her process.
Yeah, I can do that.
Good.
I
know
can
you
do that.
So remember that it does her
I'm sure I
response.
can.
Don't use her. I mean, on a relative level, of course, we have to use the other person's response as a judgment of how good or bad we are. We have to do that. But you don't, finally, you just have to have confidence that this is what she has to go through.
Yes.
This is her life and her death. It's her leg that's missing. She's got to, she has to hold on to you, but she's got to have the permission to feel whatever she has to feel, not just to make it all go away. Let her be despairing, but you be there next to her.
Okay. I got it.
Good, darling. Good. It takes courage.
You so much.
Takes courage, Rosanna, because we all want to feel good about what we're doing, but stop using her as the criterion. You know that you are being good. Know that you are helping her tremendously.
Well, you help me so much. Your guidance, I get it. You go right to my heart. Thank you.
Darling.
Thank you, Venerable. I appreciate it.
It's a really
Thank
profound
you.
point, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much. Thank you. So yes, Laura, would you like to say something, Laura?
Yes. Um,
Laura, I can't hear you, darling, at all.
a friend of mine was killed last week.
Sweetheart, how did it happen, darling?
A car ran over her.
Oh, this is terrible. This is
Yeah.
terrible, darling. Tell us about it. Yes.
I don't know much about it, but she was riding her bike
Yes.
and this car just ran over her. This person, apparently he was drunk.
Yes.
Nobody knows.
Yes. This is terrible, darling. Is this a close friend of yours, is it?
We were getting close.
Oh,
I
sweetheart.
live in the UK,
it-
and
Are you in touch with her family? I mean, what is the scenario? What is the situation?
I'm in touch with one of her friends who's in touch with her kids.
Oh,
And
So she's a mother. She was a mother, was she?
yeah,
Sweetheart.
of 3 grown-ups.
Yes. Okay. I understand, darling.
Mm,
So how are you coping with it? How are you finding ways to understand it? Are you, and I mean, it's mainly your own suffering at the moment. You're not having any contact with her family, right? So you're not having a job to help them. So it's mainly yourself, right? Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
How are you dealing with it, darling? How are you trying to understand it?
It's very confusing. I'm trying to watch my thoughts.
Yeah.
Mm. Because at first it sounded absurd to me
Of
that
course.
she had died.
Exactly.
And I had really funny thoughts because I was like, no, that can't be true because what's going to happen with her scholarship? She was applying to be a nurse.
Yes. Exactly. It's like this is on
and-
denial. It's almost too hard to believe it, isn't it? Because the person seems so real and it happened so suddenly, isn't it?
Yes.
That's right.
Mm. But I don't know. It's very confusing.
So what do you mean
I
by
went through a
confusing?
phase.
So what do you mean by confusing, sweetheart? How do you mean by
Well,
confusing?
Thoughts that don't really make sense. I mean, at some level, I know that people die. We all
Yes.
die,
Yes,
and
yes,
but it's so hard to believe
that's right.
that they can die. At some
That-
point, I wanted to know everything about her death, but there's not much information. She just
Right.
died. But I
Yes.
wanted to
No,
know
of course, that is
everything.
that's a very strong urge, isn't it, to understand the details of it. But in a sense, that also doesn't help us much, does it? Because the process you're going through. I mean, do you have we're discussing Buddhist ideas in this talk. Do you use these kinds of ideas in your daily life? Are these ideas useful to you, understanding why we have all this pain, why you've got this confusion? Do you understand? I mean, do you see what methods do the Buddhist ideas make sense to you, the way of understanding the mind, or you don't use those?
Yes, they do make sense.
Yeah.
The death part is quite confusing because I
Yeah,
don't
I know.
understand
So let's
karma.
analyze. So shall we just discuss it for a moment, shall we? Shall we discuss the Buddhist analysis of it? Would you like to hear that or not? Would that be helpful to
please.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, the very first thing to really be familiar with, and this is how the Buddha talks, but it's so practical, is we've got to look at why we are so shocked when bad things happen. That's the real key point, isn't it? That's the real point. It's so fascinating, Laura. As you just said, it's not possible. How could she have died? You know, people will say, how she could not have died. I just talked to her yesterday. So what is this telling us about our own mind? It's two things, actually, is this strong emotional hunger for everything to be lovely. Isn't it, Laura? Do you understand my point? We only want things to be nice. We can't stand it when things go wrong. Do you understand, Laura? It's very painful to see things when they go wrong. So we try to deny it, which also means, of course, when something is going nicely. So there you are becoming a friend with this person and it's all working very nicely. You became her friend and you're communicating with each other. And then, of course, we tend to think it's because it's like this today, it must be like this tomorrow. And that's what we're noticing is just not true. And in fact, 1,000 times a day we can learn this, but it's only when something dramatic like death happens that we get the wake-up call. You know, you make a cup of tea and you know you like hot tea, and then you drink the tea and you get a shock because it wasn't so hot, because you expected it to be hot. We always have this expectation, but it's very deep inside us and we don't notice it until the expectation doesn't get what it wants. Do you understand what I'm saying, Laura? So that's the thing to learn about our own mind. And so, of course, death is still painful and sad, because there she is, this woman in the middle of her life, and suddenly it's cut short with no warning. That's the part that's so shocking. So then experience what you're feeling, you know, but sort of understand it too, and to realize that the learning from this is, yes, it's as painful as it is. This is life. You know, I mean, there's Rosanna and her little 10-year-old student with bone cancer, lost her leg. And this little girl is slowly coming to terms with this, you know. So for Rosanna, exactly the same. She only wants this little girl to be happy. She only wants this little girl to be alive. So Rosanna too has to learn to accept the reality that maybe this little 10-year-old girl will not be happy again and will die in a month. I mean, it's not being depressing. It is being depressing and shocking, but this is reality. And why we suffer is because we live in denial of these things, because we don't know how to handle it. That's why you say it's confusing. You understand, darling?
Yeah.
So even though you might know every tiny instant of what happened, the car was going at this pace, he was drunk, she did this, in a sense that sort of part of our mind is yearning for the facts, but in a way that's not really the issue. It's more dealing with the expectations, the wanting things to be lovely, and our fear of when things aren't lovely. So we have to learn that this is the reality of life. It's not depressing. When we can start to understand this, we become more courageous, and then we can be more helpful to other people when they are suffering. Like I'm talking to Rosanna about her 10-year-old little girl, you know. So darling, just go through this process yourself, recognize this as reality, be sad, feel what you're feeling, don't deny it, but then learn from it, because every day you're going to have an experience of something turning out the way you didn't want it. And that's why we go up and down like yo-yos, you understand? So then when we realize that things change and we don't know when they're going to change, it kind of makes us more courageous, and then we can be more useful to other people as well as ourselves, darling. Does that make sense, Laura? What do you think?
Yeah, it does. And the other thing that I wanted to know is, or not to know, but maybe to know your opinion on this, is her mind okay? Do you?
I understand. I understand. So then tell me, so okay, the Buddha's view is that, of course, when, you know, at the time that did she die instantly, or did she die at the hospital? Do you know?
At the hospital 2 days later, yeah.
Was she unconscious when they took her after the accident? Was she unconscious and then she died unconscious, or was she conscious after the accident? Do you know that?
I don't know. I
Don't know.
don't.
But how many hours after the accident did she die? Do you know?
The accident was on Saturday at night, 8:30, and then she died on Monday. I don't know the time.
So she was unconscious the whole time, yeah?
Probably.
Okay, darling. So the point is this. We all know that our mind is working continuously. So her mind is going second by second. So there she was on her bike. So who knows what she was thinking about? Was she a kind person? Was she a very ethical person? What kind of person was she?
Yeah, she was very kind.
Okay, so then, you know, if she was a kind person, if that was her habit, and there she was riding her bike, she probably didn't see this guy coming. Do you understand? Did the guy hit her from behind, to the side? How did it happen? Do you know the facts?
On the side. She was crossing the street.
So she wouldn't have seen him coming.
No, I don't think so.
You know, if she is a kind person, and what was she doing? Going to work? What was she doing?
She was training to be a nurse because of the pandemic. She decided to.
That day? Where was she?
She was coming back from her shift at the hospital, and she was going home.
So think about her mind. She's been working. She's been helping others. She's going home to her family. She's probably got positive thoughts in her mind. Suddenly she gets knocked off. She becomes unconscious. She's in the hospital. So if her mind had a tendency to be ethical and to be kind, then we can think logically that when she died, her mind, they would be the ones that would trigger her next rebirth. So we can say the Buddhist view, you can't say for certain, but if she's a kind, ethical person and she didn't know what was happening at that moment that she died, okay, she was unconscious, but her mind is still working like in a dream, then we just have to assume, I mean, was she religious? Were people saying prayers for her?
No, she wasn't religious.
Anybody?
She was born a Catholic, but no,
Yeah.
she's not religious.
But were people doing prayers for her anyway? Do you know that?
No, I know that there's people have been visiting the site and putting flowers on the site.
But at the time she was in hospital, was anybody, her family near her, next to her, saying prayers for her or anything like that?
I guess, but I haven't been able to contact
Okay, so
their
then we can
friend
assume that, she
directly.
died because she didn't die immediately. She died when she was unconscious. Maybe her mind was peaceful, so that means from the Buddhist perspective that she will get another human rebirth. I mean, we cannot be, until you're very highly evolved, you can't say that with certainty, but based on the things you're telling me, it's not an impossibility that she died peacefully, You
Okay.
understand? So,
Yes.
so of course we as Buddhists, as Tibetan Buddhists especially, we would do, I mean, you could do, I mean, what day did she die?
Monday. Last Monday.
You mean yesterday?
The 9th
A week ago.
of
Okay.
August.
So
Yeah.
do you do Buddhist prayers and things like that?
I don't know. No. I
No,
don't
why
know how
not? So
to.
before we finish our class today, why don't we do a little meditation? We can all visualize the medicine. In fact, we do it now. Shall we do it now? A little practice? Shall we do it for your friend?
Yeah.
What is her name, darling?
Maria Perez.
Maria Perez. Let's just think now, just quietly just visualize the medicine Buddha. If you understand this, just visualize the Buddha, but he's blue. He's sitting there, looking beautiful and radiant in the sky on a lotus. And it's the energy of enlightened being, and it's the medicine Buddha, so powerful. And we visualize, it's Maria. You said Maria Perez?
Yes,
Maria Perez,
Maria.
anybody else we want to pray for right now, we visualize Maria's mind, because if it left her, if she, left, because even when she stopped breathing, it might be still a couple of days before her mind left her body. So let's just assume from the Buddhist perspective, her mind is in this intermediate state. She hasn't got reborn yet. Let's just think, and her consciousness is there. So we visualize the medicine Buddha sending powerful light right into Maria Perez's mind, into anybody else's mind, into, Rosanna's beloved friend, the little girl, anybody else we want to pray for. We think of them right there. And as we say the mantra a few times, we imagine this blazing light coming from the heart of medicine Buddha, blue light entering into these people, blessing their minds. And if they're passed away like Maria, that they take a really excellent human rebirth and continue to be a benefit to others. Or like this little precious little girl, that she either get healed, or if she dies peacefully. And everybody else want to pray for, strongly visualizing this, imagining this, wanting this. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. Taya taum bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samungate svaha. So just continue to imagine powerful blue light entering into all of these beings, healing them, purifying their minds, causing them to purify all the suffering, and to help them either get another human rebirth or to heal them, whatever is most beneficial. Imagine this, but relieving the suffering of their minds, especially their sadness and their grief. Imagine this blue light pouring in as we say the mantra silently, if we know the mantra. If not, just imagine that blue light, wanting it to happen. Om bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samangati swaha. Taya om bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samangati swaha. Taya om bekanze bekanze maha bekanze bekanze ranza samangati swaha. Taya bekanze bekanze maha bekanze samangati swaha. Cloudtown beckons, Maha beckons, runs someone got a swaha. Okay. And you keep just thinking of Maria like that, Laura. Just visualize sending the energy to her if she's still not yet taken a new rebirth. That's the Buddhist view, darling, you know, and hoping that, you know, all this suffering she's had will completely purify, so she'll get another decent human rebirth. And that's the real one about impermanence, because we get so attached to that shape, that person. It's hard for us to even imagine reincarnation. It sounds so weird, you know. But I mean, the Buddha's view is this is how life is, life after life after life. So, and you delight also, be happy, Laura, be glad that she's this wonderful human being, so kind, she led a good life, she was so beneficial to others. So delight in that. Be happy for her, you know, that she had a good life, because it's so unusual on this planet. So many people create so much suffering, you know. So be glad for her good life and the effect she's had on other people. Do you understand, Laura? Good, darling. Good, good, good. All right, you sweet people, there's another 15 minutes. Come on, ask me some questions. Anything else at all? If there is something else. So there's more about this point of, I think Rosanna's point as well. This is a really powerful point, actually. What happens is, you know, because we ourselves, let's say if we're parents, now forget parents, but especially parents, because you see attachment in us, even if we're really good people, kind people, and I know Rosanna is, she's still, unless she's a highly evolved being, and she might be, I don't know, she could be a Buddha for all I know, but let's just pretend she's a normal person, Rosanna, but she would know. But let's say she's a normal person. We've all got this attachment, this very subtle one, and you see, it's every second it's working. And the way that people out there respond to us, if it isn't what attachment wants, we get upset. So, for example, in her case, this little girl, she's now going through her own process, and she's struggling and she's suffering and she's not glowing and she's not happy anymore. So if we're really got a lot of attachment for everything to be lovely, what happens is our parents close us down. Don't behave like that. No, everything's lovely. Don't be, no, don't be depressed. Everything's fine. So in other words, the child is looking at the parent for permission, and the parent says, no, don't go there. So you close off your feelings. So this little girl, I don't know what her mother's like, but Rosanna is being so kind to her. So Rosanna's got to have the courage to be like this rock of Gibraltar, like a mirror. And so every time this little girl looks at Rosanna and she sees Rosanna smiling and loving, that gives this little girl permission to feel whatever she feels, and Rosanna will not hope she'll be different. This is a very powerful friend to have. Rosanna's a very powerful friend to have. We all need a friend like that allows us to begin to go inside ourselves and discover what the hell is there, you know, instead of being afraid of it because we don't want to upset mummy. That's how we are, you know, in our lives. So that's why we don't go deep inside ourselves. So to have a friend who is kind and will love us for whatever we are. That's what we're discussing here. This is a very powerful friend to have. That's the idea meant to be of a therapist. You go to a therapist who is meant to be like a sounding board for you, allowing you to see your own garbage. That's really what a good therapist is. Well, that's what a good friend is. That's what Rosanna is being for this little girl. And for Rosanna to not judge whether or not she is doing the right thing by whether or not this little girl is happy. That's the biggest mistake we make. That's how we misuse each other. You know, I'll keep stroking you, and if you smile, I'll go, oh, I must have done the right thing. It's really manipulative, you know, so we're not helping each other at all. This is like that's unjudgmental love, you know. And because Rosanna is kind and moral, this little girl, she's been given a strong kind of boundary. And she knows she can express whatever she feels, and she knows it's okay. And so Rosanna's allowing her to do that. However much misery she has, Rosanna, it doesn't matter. You are giving her permission to know it's okay. And she has to discover what she's feeling, not just feel what she thinks you want her to feel. You understand, Rosanna, isn't it? You understand that. I know you do. This is the way to be each other's friends. I mean, this is what giving up attachment is, because the deepest attachment we have is to what other people think of us. We're always hungrily wanting the right response from other people, you know. That's that way that attachment works. But the other way that this attachment works is if it's like we talked before, like say the person who thinks they're ugly, no matter what other people say to that person, that other person won't believe. This is the tragedy. If you think you're ugly, if you think you're no good, if you think you're useless, then that's very, very powerful belief that you've got. 57 people can tell you they love you. I mean, I use Marilyn Monroe as the example. She, from the conventional point of view, was gorgeous, right? Millions of people adored her. But look at her utter profound misery, her unbelievable dissatisfaction, her unbelievable self-loathing. And actually, look at her arrogance. This is shocking to say that. She was so self-centered, you know, that no matter how many people were kind to her, it's like she spat it back to them. No, 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 you're wrong. I'm still miserable. This is the shocking part, you know. It's hard to say that you're arrogant when you feel like you've got such low self-esteem. But this is the irony of, you see, of low self-esteem. One of the key functions of all the delusions, as I said before, is that they exaggerate. So arrogance exaggerates your importance. Well, low self-esteem is deflated arrogance. It exaggerates your ugliness. They're both deluded. They're both self-centered. And they're both stubborn and proud, you know. They're stubborn. So in other words, low self-esteem is almost like you look at the outside world and you think everybody else is more beautiful than you, but there's like anger there. Well, how dare they be more beautiful than me? Because really what you're wanting is you to be more beautiful. So you think you're being humble by saying, oh, I don't know very much. I am so ugly. Everybody else is more beautiful than me. This is really distorted and it's really self-centered and it's not accurate. So humility is not low self-esteem. Low self-esteem comes with pride. Humility comes with self-confidence. Self-confidence is a content state of mind. This is who I am. I'm doing my best. I'm moving forward and I'm content with that. That's a profound state of mind. And that comes with humility. So in other words, if you have two people
I think Venerable Rubina's internet here is unstable unless it's just me.
No, I lost her as well.
She's frozen.
Okay, thank you. Hmm. Oh, it looks like she might rejoin.
again, here I am, my phone went weird.
There we go.
Are we
Okay.
communicating here? We've really got to see this. You know, all the delusions are necessarily rooted. This is the analysis. All the unhappy states of mind are rooted in this primordially deep misconception. The one, and this is so subtle, we don't even see it and we don't have a word for it. We don't have, in our modern psychology, we don't have an equivalent of this. It's very subtle. This is unique to the Buddha. We have this primordially deep sense, totally mistaken sense of a concrete, solid, separate, bereft, set in stone me. The stronger that is, the more hungry we are, the more emotionally hungry, which is attachment, and then the more anger and aversion we experience when the attachment doesn't get what the supposed I wants. So this is the analysis of these suffering states of mind. This is Buddha's analysis, you know. So like I've been talking, so in Rosanna's case, is subtle attachment. We want to help others. That's virtue. There's the delusions and then there are the virtues. So in Rosanna's case, her kindness, her generosity, her compassion, her love, these are marvelous, but they're tainted by, you know, if she's an ordinary person, by her emotional hunger to get the right response. Then she feels, oh, I must be doing a good job because the little girl's happy. No, that's not the criterion of success. That's the courage we have to have. And that comes from wisdom. Of not inserting yourself in the environment, not inserting yourself in the scenario, you know. It's very subtle. but we can do it. This is what being a good friend really is, you know. So you people, talk to me more. Come on, some questions. Any old questions? I don't mind. For our last 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, 5
Cassia,
minutes.
Venerable, I think Cassia,
Cassia, where,
Kasia, yeah, has
Where
a
are you?
question.
oh, good. Talk to me, sweetheart. Talk to me.
Okay, so Venerable Ravina, I had a question when you were talking about the way that parents shut down children's emotions.
Yes.
And my son is 10 and he's definitely experienced a lot of anxiety,
Yes.
more in the last year in big ways, panic attacks and things like that. But,
Yes.
you know, very, very subtle
Yes.
for a part of his life. And I can relate to anxiety too a lot.
Yes.
But one thing that he asks me a lot is, and I get stuck with how to help him, is if, you know, when his father and I are not together. And so when he goes to his dad's, you know, and he leaves me, is he gonna die? Am I gonna die?
Okay. Yes.
So
I
I've
understand.
asked Lama Zopa about this just because it's gone on for quite a long time and it
Yes.
would trigger a lot of panic attacks for him.
Yes.
So I've been working to do the practices that Lama Zopa said, and I think that sometimes I get really hard on myself if I slow down with them or don't do them well or don't chip away at them more. But
Exactly.
I find myself, just reassuring him that everything's okay and to trust that everything's okay. But
Yes.
I also know the reality, relating to, I think it was Rosanna, that a friend died very recently, very tragically too. And so I know that death happens. My brother
Yes.
died very tragically.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very, I
I
don't want to
understand.
lie to him, but I don't want to scare
No,
him.
well, I mean, this is where we have to, I understand, Cassia, but this is where we have to have, this is where two things. One, you have to have whatever wisdom you've got, but two, even for you to know that you necessarily, no matter what you do or say, it still might not make him less anxious. So you have to do whatever you can and sort of allow him to, even though he's going to be anxious, to know that you are this, again, like I said to Rosanna, like a rock of Gibraltar. Everything is okay, darling. No matter what happens, everything is okay. Everything is okay, sweetheart. You've got to look at him in the eye and love him and know, like for Rosanna, you're the rock of Gibraltar for him, and allow him. You can't make his anxiety go away, and don't judge your success by his anxiety. It doesn't mean you're not doing the best you can. We can't force another person to be different, but all you can do, just like I said to Rosanna, all you can do is be loving and confident with him. And he can learn to know that no matter what he feels, he can show it to you. That's a good thing. So darling, and you have to just trust the process, and he has to go through what he has to go through, and no matter how tormented it is, that's what his mind is. And all you can do is be like a rock of Gibraltar. That's all I can say. Do you get my point, Cassia?
Yes, I do. I do very much. Thank
and
you.
don't assume because he stays anxious. He might stay anxious for 47 years. I'm not saying he won't or will, but don't judge your success or lack of based on him. That's his trip. You are yours. Or you've got some karma to have this, to be the mother of this person. He has got the karma to have a mummy and daddy who have broken up. He has got his own anxiety, his own suffering, his own pain. That's his. You just be like a rock of Gibraltar for him. This is it's not as if you've done your best, but you failed. You have not failed. His inability to work with his own suffering is not your failure. That's the point I'm trying to say.
Okay,
and the courage you have to have is, this is who he is, and I've just got this is who he is. This is his stuff. You understand, darling?
Yes, I do.
Be brave. Be brave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does he like the Buddhas? Does he like to hear the sounds of mantras and stuff like that?
Oh yes, very much. We say mantras. He's 10 now, so he's kind of too cool, but he still says them with me.
I know, but
so,
you can just let him hear them quietly in the background. It can
Yeah.
bless him, it can bless him.
Yeah, very
And
much.
just let him go through what he has to go through, and give him the courage to know that whatever he feels, it's okay. You understand? But you also be like strong for him. You know, like, you know, what do I do when my daughter throws chairs at me, as one mother said? Well, you can't let her keep throwing chairs. It's not good for her. So if you have to control the behavior, that's okay. But learn to have to be this massive kind of just rock for him. You know, it's all, and you realize you cannot do more. Therefore, what you are doing is perfect, and he has to do what he has to do. You understand? Kasia, sweetheart. Your voice is almost gone, darling, but I think you understand. So that's it, you people. Our hour has gone, but I think so useful, so helpful. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Kasia. I can't hear you, Kasia. It's just a metal sound. There we go. It's okay. So all you people, Laura, thank you so much. Be brave, all of us. Just be brave, people. Be brave, everybody, every one of us, and start attempting to, you know, Rosanna, remember, she's doing everything she can. Cassie is doing everything she can. Laura, you do everything you can to lighten our progress. You know, and learn to rejoice in our good qualities. We need to learn to rejoice in our good qualities. We never do that. We have to do that. Keep moving, people, everybody. Thank you, darlings, everybody. Much love.
Thank you, Venerable. Thank you for your teaching.